my impression of my modern mission, modernism exploring my emotional surrealism. It's remarkable how magnificent the product isn't a reflection, but seems to be a pegged-out land requiring my heart's submission. It's time to listen. You see, I'm a runaway, not an abandoned stray. This American soil, engineered by mortals, awakened in me a love for all that was capable. You inspired me, a runaway, not an abandoned stray. So why does the picture seem to run away? Is it me? Or do I just need clarity? This plot of land speaks of pain and a terrible rain, where my sisters were raped and my brothers were tamed. All in the midst of this, the guns have stolen my name. It's funny, you see, how the world turns to me, a child running wild for the whole world to see. But it wasn't always like this, you see. We live in a world where we bleed just to reminisce. So here, I'll tell you about me and how the chicken scratch on the page in black spoils the vivid colors behind me. My father's nickname at work was the Persian Prick. He ran a Chattanooga intersection, including the side streets. But this nickname he did not earn. In fact, it was a cruel jab, a name of hate given too much weight from an American-born family who couldn't relate. They were born here, entitled to a land manifest. They proved it on battlefields. Native death meant they were the best. Best because of God, hell, best because of the color of their flesh. But wait, is my mind out of sight? It's true. My skin is white, just like most of you. Have I become the real Persian prick? Blinded by the white light? Am I the hypocrite? Am I damned to be ignorant from the moment of birth? If so, then why was I raised on my father's work? I feel naked. I am a voice that I hope you hear. I am the sun now shining in this America, crystal clear. I am a trophy, polished, clean of dark negativity. But why does no one ask what America means to me? Because I tell you right now, I can fucking see. America means a broken spirit on a wayward ship. It means bragging about your new Botox. That's the real fat lip. It means dropping some cash on that very new drip. American capitalism, all gone wrong. Can I play a new song? It means leaving your home into the unknown, being abandoned alone, only to return to reclaim your throne. But this is not my real home. Forgive me, please, if this poem seems selfish. The artwork we dance in is truly not to be missed. But these artists were privileged and guaranteed this land. They paid for a slaughter, and from the fucking Lord did they demand to take what was theirs, no matter the price. So please try to understand. These paintings, they no longer suffice. My Spanish-speaking hermanos that come from the South, they didn't always speak Spanish. Not before their color ran out.
Hope you're not fall to pieces. I'm not losing sleep, I'm not begging please. You won't find me weeping. And whoa, can't you see? The seeds you sown are ripe for reaping. Picked a fight, but you got a war. Like a fire needs a flood. I want you to pay dearly for what you stole from me. And say that you won't. I'll burn down the door. I want it paid to me. It's that easy. It's that easy, oh. Whoa. You lit the spark, now you've been marked. No use in trying. It's clear to face your wounded grace. So stop your crying, oh. No, can't you see? It's time you paid the price for buying. The fight you know you gotta finish, but it ain't over till it's done. I want you to pay dearly for what you stole.
see myself blinded in the lights. The lights love me brighter when my spirit's out of sight. The performance goes on all through the night. I find myself often in vivid colors of wonder. My heart is bursting at the seams. I view these natural colors and wonder, what America is built for me. I want to be proud of my colors. Isn't it true that my colors of wonder permeate a bold hue? Now colors disturb my slumber. My father's shadow paints all that I do. I feel red like the sunrise upon the landlocked eastern shore. Red like blood trickling from my knuckles, dragging across the floor. Red like my hands, I've been caught, manipulating my position. As my colored brothers and sisters are left healing from postmodern inquisitions. I feel blue. Blue like a blue moon for how often my spirit makes money. Blue like the ocean from sea to shining sea. Waves crash and it's just lovely. Blue like my favorite fireworks. The ones that sparkle, sometimes like me. You see, I want to be proud, but how can I be? Dare I say it? I feel white. White like this canvas once was. Just land, a story untold, only touched by the sun. But who am I within the red, white, and blue? In moments of gratitude, my son comes to me. He rests his head on my knee and he stares in my eyes directly. Daddy, are you happy? He asks me. I'm scared, I tell him. I'm scared of the monsters beneath me. I want to be better. I wish to be a new moon, a light penetrating darkness, a light that you can always consume. I wish I was more valuable to my boss. You know, a real American acquisition, taxed on my back when they claim it's willing submission. Am I happy, son? As long as you're here with me. As long as I have a home with you, I'll always sleep fearlessly. I dream a red, white, and blue dream. I confess, it used to be a nightmare. But every step I see you take, my mission becomes abundantly clear. That the struggle my father toiled in, he was seen as a dark villain. In my American dreams today, I'm an educated modern pilgrim, an evolution, a hybrid chromosomal mess of confusion. You see, son, your father, he shatters illusions. I'm proud to be an American, mostly when I'm proud of myself. Because knowing the story holds little glory is what humility is all about. And my happy son, I rest in your shade. Your Baba's a glorious singer, and I'm the tallest tree in this Everglade. We wanted to, first off, thanks to Adara and for Erica for all the work behind Vision and Verse and everything that's happened with it. Round of applause for them. Round of applause for them. And we wanted to open it up for discussion. I think that having a heavy topic in a place where the art isn't speaking on the topic begs for conversation because it requires a leap to be made. So we wanted to just open it up. If anyone's willing to talk, no pressure. Obviously, it's free, so your participation is not required. But just to start everything off, I wanted to learn what you guys think and what does unity look like to you guys, if anyone would like to say anything. I know for me, it's difficult to kind of process that one because it's, as the poem speaks to, it's kind of a living process of unity, finding footing, finding identity, and honoring who I am and what America is. And when it comes to unity for me, the biggest thing that I lean on is which as hard as it may be sometimes, is forgiveness. Again, it can be hard to tap into that, especially when the emotions are high and when wounds are fresh, but that seems to be a good starting place for me in my life. But yeah.
I think unity is diversity.
Diversity.
Although
Yeah.
it seems contradictory terms, it's necessary. One of the biggest mistakes that's made in the world is monoculture.
Yeah.
The blending of the fabric together into many threads weaving to make an entire picture. It's not a single color, it's all the colors come together to make one whole.
Yeah.
And it's an understanding that
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I think you offered us a picture of unity, or an example of unity, with music and poetry and dance, and it united and supported in some way each other and all of us. So thank you for your work.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for your answer. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I see unity in maybe a different context as a Black woman working in community. I see it a little bit different in the sense that I do see diversity, but I also see mainstream molesting that word, using it in a very gentrifying of my genius way. And so I see it differently. I do agree that those two go hand in hand. And then it's quite interesting to have those two things in the same conversation in a room where we're surrounded by land that real life, I would take it, snatched, its inhabitants removed. And so it's quite interesting to hear it from that standpoint, and then to have this unity and a way of bringing it back together in this creative way that sparks a bigger conversation around that can be transported into other pods of community. There's no coincidence that community has unity in it. There's no coincidence in that. It's quite interesting to see that. Was this the art piece that you chose, Amir? Or did you choose all of them?
We actually chose this one because, and when Andrew and I were here kind of doing research and looking around, we were here this summer, and Adara was putting on an educational event for kids, and we were looking at everything, and the kids came in, and they all went to this painting first. And all the kids went to this painting, and so we were like, this is the one we're choosing. So this is one we got to choose to do. This is also it's Ecuador,
Yeah.
and Cotopaxi. If you want to look it up, you can see the evidence of the change in this town, in this area, just based on modern pictures of what you were referencing. Yeah.
It's beautiful the way you were able to move. In the beginning part, it almost was mimicking the brushstrokes of the art piece itself. That's the way it felt to me, anyway. So that's how it felt to me, as you were, it felt like you were moving, especially the coloring of the hands. It felt very, I don't know, it matched the piece perfectly, almost mirrored. And then there was one part where when you leaned in and looked over, you were almost parallel with that cliff part. And that was really, I was moving. But yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. Your voice. Music doesn't turn real fast. Real fast.
Thank you.
Like, oh no. Hallelujah, pass.
Thank you.
I told him he didn't need a mic either. He didn't need a mic either. Well, here, I got another question. I got a bunch of questions that aren't going to fly, so I'm not going to ask those questions. All right, how do you exist and try to thrive while carrying the complexities of America's past. It's honest.
I think first you have to recognize that it exists.
Yeah, recognition.
Recognition is so important. Understanding. Burying something doesn't make it go away.
No. No, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah.
For me, it's a balance of taking the time that I need to heal myself from wounds that are reopened by things that are happening in the news, things that are happening around me, or just my own thoughts about the way things were and the way things are. And I always try to, with diverse groups of friends, let everybody know that I'm aware of the elephant in the room, that I am of a different race, and that it's totally okay to talk about that. You know, it's like he said about just admitting that it's there. And I know that there are so many people that probably have things that they would like to say, questions that they would like to ask, but they don't feel that it's safe to do so.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you feel safe when you're doing that?
And so I try to make a safe space for people who may not feel that it's safe. You know, with my friends. Like, we
Cool.
can talk about this. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in this body. I'm aware that I'm in this body. I'm aware that I'm different. You know, so if anybody wants to say something, if anybody, I may not have answers, but I'm okay with opening the discussion. And then there's also times when I'm done talking about it. You know, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm done talking about this. I just want to be a person again. I don't want to be,
Yes.
you know, I don't want to carry this any further today. Maybe again tomorrow, but for now, I'm full of thinking about that and talking about that, being in that space. And so for me, that's the balance of just living my life to the best of my ability that I have that day. Sometimes dipping in and then going back out, and just sort of just navigating through that as it comes.
It's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think that in your poem, where you started and then where you ended, encapsulates that, where as you moved through and you showed your own vulnerability and your wrestling with your father's past and how he was impacted and your own lived experience, and then moving in with your son. I think it's that same tension.
Yeah. Yeah, bridging that, being that, representing that. Yeah. He was a restaurant owner here in Chattanooga. He was an entrepreneur. He came to America when he was 17 and basically lived the American dream. Yeah. Most of my thinking? Oh gosh. I think it was a good mix of both, if I'm being honest. The experiences, I think, were pushed forward so much stronger with my father because of the work he was doing. And my mom was his support in that at the time. But I think that what hindered more of that was the fact that we were here alone. We were never able to go overseas and visit. You know, we were never able to go and really experience his culture and have that in our, you know, in our world.
What was the original culture?
Iran. Yeah, so I think it would have been more if my culture from his side was present. I think it would have been more thinking from him, actually. But it was pretty middle ground, I would say. Yeah. And then my grandfather was a Methodist preacher, so that was fun.
I have a question
The poetry, yeah. Yeah, and then I was like, this isn't, I need something. I was like, Andrew, I need you, buddy. And, you know, when Adara came to me about the topic, she was very clear. She was like, this is a difficult thing to navigate if you want to do it. And we took it on. We were like, you know what, like, I think that for me, it was incredibly healing. It was like a stake in the ground for me on a personal level. I think being able to talk about it, because like was mentioned, I have heard this story my whole life. Like we have all heard the injustices of America our entire lives. And now it's our turn. I'm 32, I've got 2 boys, and it's time to take another step. That's how I feel personally. I feel like it's time to take another step. If we're gonna have a conversation about injustices, I want a conversation about growth as well. It's time for that. I want a conversation about being positive in that pain and healing the pain and why. Why are we healing it and what's the next step? What's part B and C to that healing so that growth happens? Because I think being white, I have my entire life identified with every message that was ever given to a white person. I've completely identified with it because I try not to live in an illusion about who I am and try not to, as was mentioned in the poem, manipulate my position. But I think that denying the other side, all that is quieting a voice that has a great perspective. That's what I tell myself. And so letting that out in this forum, this has been pretty awesome. Yeah. I've got one more question, if y'all want to hear it, what you think. Speaking of parents, as parents, if anyone here is, how do you approach the topic of America's past with your kids on an age-appropriate level and having age-appropriate conversations while not just kind of arbitrarily glorifying patriotism? Not that patriotism doesn't need to be glorified, but arbitrarily, I guess. Well, while recognizing certain things. I know that's a tough one. Yeah. How do you? No, it's okay. Sorry. Oh my gosh. It's in the room. How do you talk to your kids? How do parents? How do you talk to your children about the truth of the American past with age level appropriateness?
Do you think that they've reached the age where they're ready for it? It's too late.
Wow. That scares me.
On any topic, much less where we are as a country. Okay. Someone's already taught that to them. They've already been exposed to it. They've seen it, they've heard it. They've watched you, heard you.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think in the past we've been able to get away with not having taught our kids school-wise. Now that's changing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we could get away with it. My kids are grown, I have grandkids. So now I'm telling them, having to be responsible for what's going to be missing with school, what they're not going to learn, and trying to be fair with the telling of that story. But
Yeah.
I do believe that if the conversation has been important, it's even more important now.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, history is changing as what we're showing in school and what we're telling, and the attempt to erase history. We have to be vigilant in making sure we tell that story, make sure our kids know. My parents were activists, so I didn't have a choice. I knew all, and then some. And so I passed it on to my kids, and now I'm having these
Ma'am, I think you had your hand raised.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to add,
Yeah.
I tried like to normalize it and not shield her from it as much as possible. Because she is Mexican, but totally white passing. So like a lot of what you said here
Yeah.
poem,
Yeah.
like resonated, or I thought about her growing
Yeah.
up. And so it's like if she doesn't want to have these conversations, I don't think it's going to ever be forced on her. So
Yes.
trying to bring her to it and engage her in it as much as possible, like from a very early age.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think, in my case, I think that they teach us. I think a lot of times we're thinking that we're the teacher, but they're so much wiser. They get tainted along the way, but if we created a type of home where we're role modeling something that is ideal, they're going to emulate that, and then we're going to learn from them. We really do. And I've learned so much from my children. And then I also just want to say something that's a lot of people probably don't know. But I happen to know it because in my work, I've been able to dissect human bodies layer by layer, not just go to the parts as like a doctor. And no matter what color the skin is, when you cut through the skin, which is literally like this thin, it's all the same color underneath. It's this bright fluorescent yellow. It's like an adipose layer. So it is what is so interesting is that it is literally this thick. That is a color, but then right below it, all the same color.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I was blown away by that.
I'd like to follow on what you're saying, not about the skin. Modeling. The behaviors that we exhibit in the world, and what we do and how we respond is picked up. Not so much the words, but our actions, what we do in the world. That represents a path. And I think that's something we need to be aware of. And I've seen too many parents that say one thing but act entirely different way.
Yeah.
And I see children behaving in a way that's counter.
Yeah. I relate a lot to that. I relate a whole lot to that. I think that having an experience of being light-skinned in a world where that's the trigger to have the conversation become more tolerant is the color of a person's skin. And so if that trigger isn't there, the conversation usually happens in front of your face anyway. And so I think modeling is something that can get lost really quick if a person isn't genuine. You know, the words can really, words become very cheap, very quick when you see how easily a person can say one thing, and the moment that thing isn't there for them to be like, oh, I have to have these guards up to protect this thing, then it's shown pretty quickly. Yeah.
I have a question for the dancer.
Yes.
How did you develop each piece? Did I see you gave you the poetry brief? And did you choose words to sort of construct it out into certain words?
So we had some conversations about certain phrases in the poem that he wanted
And they did awesome. They did amazing.
You seem to be the personification of the glass bead game.
Of the what?
The glass bead game.
What's the glass bead game?
It's more complicated than I'll talk.
Oh,
But Herman has, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature back in the 40s on that book,
oh wow.
The Glass Bead Game.
I'll have to look that up. I'm gonna look that up. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Yes, I do.